Good evening, and welcome to the February 20th, 2024 council meeting of Clark Township. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll when you're ready?
Councilman Hund.
Here.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Here.
Councilman Minetti is absent. Councilman O'Connor.
Here.
Councilman Smith.
Here.
Councilman Toll.
Here.
Council President Albanese.
Here. This time, I'd like everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, as adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by mailing the annual schedule of meetings to the Star-Ledger, Union County Hawk, Union County Local Source, and Tappan to Clark, by posting such annual meeting schedule on the bulletin board in Town Hall reserved for such announcements, the official website of the Township, and the proper filing of said notice. Formal action may be taken at this meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, we're going to move on to communications from the mayor and the reports of township officers. We'll start with the mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, members of council, ladies and gentlemen. Very quick report tonight. I'd like to thank the DPW for our last two snow events and an excellent job in plowing our community. I do want to just note that it's part of their job, and I expect that out of them, but we have a lot of young guys, and over the last 2 or 3 years, we really haven't had much snow. So this is like really the first test they're getting, and the first one was kind of wet and heavy, which is more difficult. This one was about 8 inches of powder, and it makes it a lot easier. So I thank you for the DPW and their guys for doing a great job out there and getting our streets done very, very quickly. Speaking of DPW, outside of the gates to our yard, there is to the right an area with free firewood, if you'd like to take it. It's a grab and go. Do not bring a saw. Do not split it there. The pieces are not cut up into small pieces to be split. You'd have to do some of that at home. But nonetheless, it's free, and it's there, and you're more than willing to have it. Also like to report a few weeks ago, I posted on Facebook that our PD with the Union County Prosecutors Task Force have been out in Clark out in the evening. This is a multi-jurisdiction task force that Clark is a part of to prevent home break-in and car thefts. But with that withstanding, there's a lot of people out on the street doing their job. The only problem is that they can't be on every block at every minute. So keep your lights on at night, out on the front lawn and porch if you could. Keep your eyes open. Anything suspicious, please report it immediately. That concludes my report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bonacorso. This time we'll move on to council member reports. Councilman Steve Hund, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Madam President. I have the Clark Police Department report for January of 2024. We saw a total of 2,690 calls for services including but not limited to 2 arrive mental health requests, 164 ambulance requests, 5 fire department requests, 11 motor vehicle and residential lockouts, 75 alarm calls, 70 motor vehicle accidents, 37 shoplifting and theft, 11 fraud and identity theft, 153 were 9/11 calls, and 1,822 were miscellaneous calls. There was a total of 22 arrests, including but not limited to 12 for shoplifting, 2 for DUI, and 5 for warrants. The Youth Bureau handled a total of 16 cases, including but not limited to 1 arrest for weapons, 2 for bias incident, 1 for harassment, 3 for offenses against the family, and 2 for CDS. 15 were in-house disposition. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hund. We'll move on to Councilman Mazzarella when you're ready.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. This is my DPW report for this evening. February 24th, that's this Saturday, is our electric drop-off, weather permitting, of course. It will be held between 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Public Works facility. There will be no electronic drop-off for March. Please make note of that. March is going to be a very busy month for us. Bulky and appliance pickups start March 4th. Please email dpw@ourclark.com for all appointments, and they are required a week before your scheduled pickup. Spring cleanup begins on or about March 18th. Again, weather permitting. Please refrain from putting out yard waste until March 16th. Root mulch will be available starting in April. We have, as the mayor has said, we have started a free wood program located outside the DPW facility. Pickups is available Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's a load to go, as the mayor has said. Please, no chainsaws, log splitters, they are prohibited. Wood will be replenished as it becomes available. Please, last thing, a cry from our DPW department, especially they've been called out to a lot of sewer backups. Please, ladies and gentlemen, don't put sanitary wipes in your toilet bowl because they are creating very severe issues in the sewer lines. They get snagged, and then it causes a backup, and it will affect your neighborhood or your homes. So please be aware of this. No wipes in the pipes, please. And email dpw@ourclark.com for more info, or visit www.ourclark.com for a schedule of all our pickups and our programs. Thank you. That's the extent of my report.
Thank you, Councilman Mazzarella. Councilman O'Connor.
Thank you very much. From the Finance Committee, the budget items scheduled for discussion tonight will be pulled from the agenda. This decision comes following a recent development from the state's local finance board, which has implications for our budget planning. On Friday, February 16th, the local finance board made a significant determination regarding the calculation of expenditures exempt from the cap. Under NJSA 40A:4-45.3D, they have the authority to grant exceptions under extraordinary circumstances that lead to the unexpected increases in essential service expenditures for the single budget year. During the meeting, the local finance board unanimously approved exceptions to the appropriation cap for the 2024 budget year. These exceptions pertain to several critical budgetary items, including garbage collection and disposal, recycling costs, liability insurance encompassing cybersecurity, property and casualty, workers' compensation insurance. The Division of Local Government Services will soon issue a local finance notice outlining the process for municipalities to calculate these exemptions. Given this development, we will need to rework our budget to account for these changes mandated by the local finance board. We understand this may require adjustments to our initial plans, but ensure compliance with state regulations is paramount. As such, I will be making a motion to remove item number 3 from the agenda. Thank you. That's from the Finance Committee. From the Clark Volunteer Emergency Squad. Recent squad activities. In January, the squad has been busy bringing on 4 new probationary members and 2 additional daytime personnel. We held our annual length of service and installation officers brunch. Call volume, there were 127 calls in January with 3 mutual aid, 2 Rowway, 1 Scotch Plains. This does not include any calls that were dispatched to and canceled on. Total hours responding to calls is approximately 956 man-hours. This does not include any hours those members are on duty when there are no calls. Year-to-date call volume, 127. Regarding membership, for those who would like to assist the squad but may not have the time to do the EMT training, we are accepting applications for people who are interested in becoming drivers for the ambulance. Must be 18 years of age with a clear driving record. The squad will be reaching out to rising juniors, in local high schools for a relaunch of our cadet program. Anyone interested can email us at membership@clarkems.org. And of course, they continue to service the community. We'll be offering a baby safe class in April, open to all who would like to see and practice choking, CPR demos, and safety tips for parents and grandparents. The squad hosted 2 blood drives in January and is looking to expand the number each month as the need for blood is increasing. Our next one is Friday, January 23rd. We are asking for people to consider coming in to donate. Respectfully submitted, Lori Sheldon, trustee. And as you heard, Councilman Minetti is not here, so he asked if I read the fire department report, which I will do now. In the month of January, the Clark Fire Department responded to 41 calls. The calls include, but are not limited to, numerous odors and alarm calls. 2 calls were for mutual aid from other towns, and 2 calls were for motor vehicle-related incidents. I want to thank all the residents that cleared fire hydrants in front of their homes during the last 2 storms. As always, I would like to thank the members of the Clark Volunteer Fire Department for their hard work and dedication in keeping our own town safe, and welcome Patrick and Jean to the Clark Fire Department. That concludes the fire department report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Councilman Smith?
Thank you, Madam President. From the Recreation and Pool report from Ralph Bernardo. The spring classes registration opens March 1st. Everything is online, all the information regarding the classes, or you could always stop down at his office. Registration for the Clark Community Pool also begins March 1st. It is the 50th anniversary of the pool, so Ralph and the managers of the pool have plans for a summer-long celebration from Memorial Day through Labor Day weekend. And on Saturday, March 23rd, is the annual Easter egg hunt, which is from 12 to 2 p.m. at the Brewer Rec Center, and it is rain or shine. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. Councilman Toll.
Thank you, Madam President. From the Clark Environmental Commission, they shall have their annual meeting this Wednesday, tomorrow, February the 21st, at 7 p.m. in Room 30, also known as the History Room, in the Brewer Municipal Building at 430 Westfield Avenue, Clark. The topic of discussion will be the Clark Resi. Anyone who's interested in joining, it's open to the public. Please join us. We'll have a nice conversation with coffee being served. This is from the desk of Mark Hayden, the chairman of the Environmental Commission. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Toll. At this time, I'd like to give a few reports. First, I serve as a representative for the Township on the Community Development Block Grants. The committee that I serve on, the subcommittee, is Public Improvements, and we met on February 1st and February 8th. The Township had applied for $25,000, and I'm pleased to say that the committee was in agreement to recommend to the General Committee at their meeting on Thursday for full, to provide full funding for that request. So I'm very happy about that. We'll be using that for sidewalk improvements. We've had curb cut contributions made over recent years. Just want to remind all the citizens, don't forget about the Citizens Guide. It's available online, and also you can obtain a copy if you need to. Lots of information about what streets to park on when there's snow, and you should not park on designated streets, as well as other information on different ways to how to make tax payments, relief programs, recycling for your zone. I know that's always a little confusing when the new year starts, so please check out the resident guide. And finally, I'd like to give my report from the director of the library, Megan Kosiolek. Library usage in January had a total of 6,970 visitors and recorded 7,822 website visits. Don't forget, at the library, they have museum passes available for families, which were donated by the Friends of the Library, so we thank them, and I hope you'll take advantage of that. Also, the library had a huge, I call it huge, but if you borrow it, it's pretty huge. It's a telescope, and you can use that. There's training on it, et cetera, for the telescope, and as well as other equipment that's available at the library. As far as events coming up, this Thursday, February 22nd at 6 p.m., they'll have a cozy hot cocoa night for all the citizens to join in. Fun event, so you'll be able to make your own cocoa with toppings and various other things. So we're starting to shake off the winter, looking forward to spring. That might be an event you'd want to consider. Also on this Saturday, February 24th, 9:30 to 5, each child that checks out a book will get a raffle ticket for a Barnes & Noble gift card, and that's for babies through grade 5. So if you have a baby that you read books to, you can get a raffle ticket as well as through grade 5. And I'm pleased to tell you they'll have also a show that day, this Thursday, February 24th, Eyes of the Wild Animal Show. So if you want to take your child to the library or see some live animals, please check that out, and you'll learn about some unique animals. On February 28th, next Wednesday at 11 a.m., they'll have a discussion on heart health with Dr. Trattenberg, and he'll be providing evidence-based insights and practical strategies for optimizing your heart health, emphasizing lifestyle choices that you might want to consider for early detection and also for stress management. On April 8th is the eclipse of the, and to celebrate that, the library is going to have all space-themed programs during the month of March, so stay tuned. And if you attend one of the programs, you'll obtain an eclipse glass, which will enable you to watch the eclipse. So that's for every registration. And also, there'll be, if you have a library card, they'll distribute them as well, March 25th to April 5th. So don't look up at the eclipse without those glasses. That's what I can tell you. And try to get that early. That concludes my report on the library. At this time, we're going to move on to...
Madam President?
Yes.
May I just for 1 second? I forgot.
Yes,
It was
go
only
ahead,
right in
Mayor.
front of me,
Absolutely.
so I'm sorry. Police report, motor vehicle stops for the month were 215, 56 radar details, and 9 enforcement details. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, and thank you for the additional monitoring on Featherbed Lane. I had a complaint from citizens on that street, especially at the after-school time, around 4:30. Cars are probably going 35 to 45, so I did see the police there and appreciate that as well. At this time, we're going to move on to the ordinances, appropriations, and claims, and introduction of proposed ordinances. So, Madam Clerk, turn it over to you.
Madam President. Our first ordinance is number 24-04, ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the Township of Clark, County of Union, New Jersey, adopting that redevelopment plan titled Redevelopment Plan Block 77, Lots 2 and 4, also known as 175 and 181 Westfield Avenue, Township of Clark, Union County, New Jersey.
All these items were discussed at our workshop, but I'm just going to ask Mr. Ulrich, would you like to make a comment on this one?
So, again, this is the property that's right across the street from the Dunkin' Donuts, and it's that old house on the corner and the building next to it. So what they're going to do is merge the two pieces of property and use that as an area in need of redevelopment. They haven't used that house for a number of years, and, you know, the criteria for an area in need of redevelopment, as was, detailed in the report that everybody has, it meets that criteria, and that's why we're asking the council to designate it as an area in need of redevelopment.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any other questions from the council? Any discussion? No? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll on this?
Councilman Hund,
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella,
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilman Toll,
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes.
This will go to the planning board for their March meeting, and if they approve that it is in compliance with the master plan, then the public hearing on this ordinance will be March 18th.
Thank you.
Next ordinance is 24-05, an ordinance requiring the township to share pilot payments with the Clark Board of Education.
I'd like to move that.
I'll second that, please.
Thank you. Any discussion, any questions?
So this is, again, as the mayor, when they put the pilot in originally, the mayor said that the school will not be negatively affected from a revenue standpoint. So this is something that we're putting in place to make the school whole, so they will not be losing any revenue associated with the pilot program. Again, it was back and forth. We are, as far as we could tell, the only community doing anything like this. And, it took a little bit longer than we would like. We just wanted to make sure we got the wording right from a legal perspective.
Madam President, may I too? it's the robbing Peter to pay Paul. If we would have took all the revenue from the new pilot programs and left the school without any of their money, what are we doing? It's still one checkbook, one tax dollar. Everybody's budget gets paid, county, school, and municipality. So we're doing this to keep the school whole, to make sure they can continue to provide efficient and thorough education for their children. And in the meantime, we have gained some money in our revenue stream by having this pilot program. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So just to comment on that, the township is not required to share the tax dollars with the schools. Only 5% is required to be sent to the county, and the rest of the redevelopment payments would go to the township. But as the BA said, we're probably the only town in the state that's doing that, so we're very happy to do that based on what the mayor just summarized. It makes sense to do it. At this time, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes.
This ordinance will have its public hearing on March 18th.
Okay, at this time, we'll move on to payment of claims. Councilman O'Connor?
Thank you. I have reviewed the bills for the month totaling $233,328.89. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move on to citizens' hearing on the agenda. Each person addressing the council shall state their name and address to the clerk, and all remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and shall not exceed 5 minutes in duration. So this is regarding citizens' hearing on the agenda. Is there anyone who wishes to come up and discuss any items on the agenda? Items on the agenda at this point. For the items on the agenda, if you're going to talk about an agenda item, we'll have the general discussion later. Questions on the agenda, yes.
Bill Caruso, 7 School Street, Clark. This proposed ordinance 2404, in which you're proposing a redevelopment plan. Could you please tell me exactly where this is?
You're
Where is this? Where are these
Madam
buildings?
President, like I said when I was describing
Can't hear
the-
you, Jim. I have to be louder.
I'm yelling, so I don't want to yell. But can you hear me now?
Is it near the drugstore?
Across from the Dunkin' Donuts.
Across from Dunkin' Donuts?
Yes, across from the Dunkin' Donuts. It's the medical building and the house next to it that's in a state of disrepair.
Okay, I was just curious where it was. Thank you.
okay. Okay, anyone else wishing to come forward for items on the agenda? Seeing no one, I'd like a motion to close this portion of the meeting.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Councilman Hund. Thank you, Councilman Toll. Okay, we're going to move on to the resolution. Sorry. Yes, sorry. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll move on to resolutions. Madam Clerk?
First resolution is the 2024 municipal budget.
Madam Clerk, I'm sorry, Madam President, I would like to make a motion to remove that from the agenda as discussed in my finance report.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman Hund. Okay, as Councilman O'Connor discussed, the Division of Local Government Services, Local Finance Board, made changes in the requirements for the budget, and they will be addressed as soon as we get the new forms. Therefore, we are postponing the budget introduction and removing it from the agenda. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, the roll call.
Yes. Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes.
Thank you. Number 4 is authorizing emergency temporary appropriations for the current fund.
Do I have a motion?
I'd like to move that, please.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Okay, this is related to the temporary budget. Madam Clerk, can I have a roll call?
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes.
Number 5 is authorizing emergency temporary appropriations for the sewer utility.
Okay, similar to, we have a separate utility, so similar to the current fund, we are going to authorize an emergency temporary appropriation until the final budget is passed at this time. Do I have a motion,
I'll
Council?
move it.
Thank you, Councilman Mazzarella.
Second that, please.
Thank you, Councilman Hund. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, would you call the roll?
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes.
Number 6 is authorizing emergency temporary appropriations for the pool utility.
I'll make a motion on that.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. Do I have a second?
I'd like to second that, please.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Okay, this is similar to the other two, the current fund and the sewer utility. Do you have a roll call?
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes.
Number 7 is appointing Patrick Clark Barnes and Jean Roman as members of the Clark Volunteer Fire Department.
Okay, at this time, I'd like a motion.
I'll move that, please.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. Obviously, at the workshop, we're all thrilled to have some new volunteers on the Volunteer Fire Department, so we welcome them. And at this time, any other comments? We'll have a roll call, Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes.
Number 8 is award of a non-fair and open contract to Topology for professional planning services, GIS zoning map, in an amount not to exceed $10,750.
Mr. Ulrich, do you have some comments?
So this is, we're going to have an interactive map of our zoning. It'll also give you the floodplains and elevations. So this will help out a lot of the residents from having to contact the construction office or, even before they have discussions with a builder, a meeting with a surveyor. It's not going to be 100%, but it's 98% of what they need. So this is another thing that will help the residents within the town, be available. And actually, I was talking to our engineer today, and there's a resident that he was looking at, and he said he could really have used this. So, hopefully you approve it so he can use it going forward.
It's great news. Do you have a motion, Council?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. Do I have a second?
Second that, please.
Thank you, Councilman Hund. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes.
Okay. Number 9 is authorizing the health officer to enter into an agreement with Atlantic Health System for health education services and one bone density screening event in an amount not to exceed $10,170, funded by the New Jersey Association of County and City Health Officers Grant and pending adoption of the 2024 municipal budget.
Yeah, so this is, standard. We do it every year. We're required to have health training. In addition, this year, the recreation director and our health officer met with some of the seniors and saw what, asking them what they thought was interesting, they wanted to have tested. So this year, we're also adding the bone density testing for the residents.
Okay, so we hope citizens will take advantage of the bone density testing that will be advertised. We don't have a date yet for that, do we? At this point, we're
No,
just
we don't
voting
have a
on
date
it. So,
You got to approve me spending the money first.
yes. So we will keep you informed of that. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councilman Mazzarella. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Toll. Okay, Madam Clerk, when you're ready, would you call the roll?
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes.
Okay, number 10 is authorizing the health officer and township clerk to enter into an agreement between the Township of Clark and the City of Elizabeth Division of Health STD Clinic.
Yeah, so again, this is, every year we do need to, we need someone here for sexually transmitted diseases, and we contract with the City of Elizabeth to help us out with this.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councilman Mazzarella. Do I have a second?
I'll move that. Second.
Thank you, Councilman Toll. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, would you call the roll?
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes.
Number 11 is council acting as the pool utility, authorizing and directing the council president as the chairperson of the pool utility to enter into pool employment contracts for the positions of manager and assistant managers.
Okay, so each year for the pool, we have to enter contracts. So here we're acting as the pool utility. Do I have a motion?
I'll move that.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. Do I have a second?
Second that, please.
Thank you, Councilman Hund. When you're ready, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes.
Number 12 is authorizing the chief financial officer to refund $200 in fees paid by the township's 2 constables due to the elimination of the position by the state legislature.
Okay, the state changed the rules, and we no longer have constables, but these individuals who were the constables paid the money, so we're giving the money back to them since they are no longer serving as a constable. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to move that, please.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, please.
Thank you, Councilman Hund. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes.
13 is authorizing submission of an application for a $100,000 grant from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs to renovate the bathrooms in the Recreation Department, and authorizing the mayor and business administrator to execute the agreement to obtain the funds.
I'd like to move that.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second that, please.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Hund. Mr. Ulrich, do you want to make some additional comments? This is great news.
You know, this is additional work that we want to do to the Recreation Department. As everybody who's ever used the Recreation Department, the bathrooms down there need an upgrade, to say the least. They're small, especially the men's room, and we're going to take advantage of a grant to, hopefully get the money to, replace, some of the fixtures, expand it, and, have a whole different layout. So I'm sure everybody who uses the Recreation Department, especially for some of those tournaments, it is tight. And, this is another instance where we're taking advantage of state grants, county grants to offset our cost of, living and, improving the township at the same time.
Yes, it's excellent grant. Do I have we already have the motion and second. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes.
Number 14 is authorizing submission of a strategic plan for the Clark Municipal Alliance Grant for fiscal year 2025 in the amount of $13,194.
Thank you, Councilman Toll. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. When you're ready, we can call the roll. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor. Yes. Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes.
15 is authorizing the provision of a grant pursuant to the Township of Clark Affordability Assistance Program for the tenants of the following affordable housing units: 1025 Raritan Road, Unit 209, and 1025 Raritan Road, Unit 210.
Do I have a motion, council?
I'll move that, please.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. Roll call when you're ready, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes. Okay, at this time, we're going to move on to consent agenda resolutions.
Okay. The first resolution is authorizing the tax collector to apply sewer account balance adjustments as credit in the amount of $880. 17 is authorizing the tax collector to refund overpayment of taxes in the amount of $266.08. 18 is authorizing the tax collector to make the proper adjustments for 100% property tax exemption of Block 33, Lot 6.01, Qualifier C0003, in accordance with a directive from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I'll move that, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Toll. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. Roll call when you're ready.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Albanese.
Yes. This time, Madam Clerk, do we have any new business on the calendar?
There is no new business.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to open the meeting up to public comments. Each person addressing the council should give their name and address to the clerk. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and shall not exceed 5 minutes in duration. Is there anyone wishing to come forward? Good evening.
Nice to see everyone again. Gail, G-A-I-L, Baldessari. You want me to spell that?
Please.
B as in boy. Can you hear me?
Is the
Is it
green
on?
light on there?
It's on.
Okay.
Green light is on.
Yeah, okay.
B as in boy, A-L, D for David, A-S-S-A-R-R-E.
Thank you.
Do you need the address too?
Yes, please.
Okay. 69 Reynolds Avenue, Whippany, New Jersey, 07981.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, Jim, council members, nice to see everyone again, and thank you for letting me speak. I am the feline coordinator for Wise Animal Rescue, as some of you already know, and I was involved in September 22nd in helping to adopt an ordinance, which I would like to refresh everyone's memory that's maybe listening. The purpose of this article is to create and implement a community cap program in the Township of Clark for the purpose of reducing, excuse me, the population of feral and free-roaming cats, benefiting the public health, improving the quality of life for residents, and ensuring the humane treatment of community cats. I would like to update you as to what we've been doing. Some of the work, if you look at the screens, you can see it. We've been quite busy. On Florence Drive alone, we have to date done 20 cats, spayed, neutered, and vaccinated. We have one more to go. He's still out there. We have now, by the basic population, how they produce, we have avoided this summer over 60 cats on Florence Drive. We have only had to return 7 back outside. We were able to work with partner shelters and get these cats and kittens, so we didn't have to put them at Newark Humane, where they might get lost because they're very busy down there. And we only had to charge Clark for 6 of the cats. The rest, some of the residents kicked in, and the money that I did raise last summer covered all of the costs till now. We do have some caretakers and people that have volunteered to help me. It was invaluable since I do live a little bit far away. Scott and Carrie Cartier, Nellie Stolzarts, who's here, and Nancy Tawaskas, who helped me to fundraise with the money last summer. There is one cat that you may see up here. They've just appeared. There he is. This is Big Red. We did have to do surgery on him. So the caretaker observed that he had an eye problem. He was recaptured. And Wise Animal Rescue, in thanking Clark for adopting this TNR program, decided to do our community outreach program. We paid for the surgery for him, which was rather expensive. And he had inverted eyelashes, so every time he moved his eye, all the eyelashes would scrape his eye, causing ulcerations and eventually blindness. We couldn't leave him out like that. So Wise Animal Rescue did pay for that, and we are, I'm going to plug it now, we're fundraising for the costs to recoup some of the cost. It's going to be on March 5th. You're all invited. It is a Zumba evening. And it's in Lake Hiawatha, which is basically where Wise Animal Rescue is located. We are an all-home foster-based group, but our base is in Lake Hiawatha. It's going to be at 25 Crescent Drive or 4 Volunteers Court. Both are correct, depending on your GPS. I'm going to leave that with Elizabeth, so if anyone in Clark would like to participate and come, you can either work out or hang out with us. We're going to have some refreshments, and I'm going to bring, there's Mulligan, there's Big Red, and I am going to be bringing Big Red so everyone can see the cat that was helped and where we're trying to bring the money back. I would like to say that we still do need volunteers. I've had wonderful response for some of the residents that were here, so it really helped out a lot. We still need funding, so I encourage companies or individuals, if they can donate some money, to please do it. This is an invaluable community service. And we still need some fosters. Some of the kittens we were able to turn around that did not have to go back outside. I really encourage any of the companies listening to perhaps donate to this very good cause. And I do ask the residents, if they are feeding stray cats, to please contact the city. I would be happy to give my phone number out. And if you feed, you must fix, because you're just making this problem worse, and it's just going against everything we're trying to do. So please don't feed stray cats if you're not willing to help fix them. I can help organize that. I've lent out to some of the residents here my equipment, showed them how to use it, and it's been just a fantastic turnout. I hope this can continue. I'm happy to help, and thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Come up to the, and you can give us your name and address, and
Nellie Stolars, 312 New York Avenue in Clark. I don't know if you saw one of those pictures up there. I was one of the ones I caught 12 kittens myself in my backyard. But one of the pictures actually showed a few of the cats and mice. So I'm seeing an uptick. I've been here in 30 years, and the mice that these cats have been killing is incredible. So I've never really seen mice in my house or around my house. And I don't know if you could see it, but it showed an orange cat literally having a mouse in front of it. And I'm seeing more and more. So these cats are actually helping take care of that problem, because I'm finding dead mice all over my yard and my neighbor's yard. So just wanted to.
Yeah, if I could jump in for 1 second. You know, that's one of the things we spoke to Gail about when she was doing this. And the feeding of the animals, that's why it's a separate, specific time that you could feed it. You got to pull the food away so there's no food laying out there for the mice, the rats, the raccoons, any other animal to eat. So, that's why this program works well on both sides, not only to keep the rodent population down, but also to keep, the cats, healthy and safer. So it's a...
That's what we do, and try to take care of them, but I wanted you to understand too, they're helping us.
Yeah, thank you.
Just want to put in for the record that the person that spoke before her spoke for 12 minutes. Put that in your record. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bill Caruso.
Madam
I live at
Clerk.
7 School Street.
Hold on one second. Hold on one
Here
second.
tonight-
Madam Clerk, you're keeping the time, correct?
I am, Mr. Crusoe, I'm keeping the time.
Clerk is keeping the time.
Ms. Baldessaro spoke from 8...
What's that?
Ms. Baldessaro spoke from 8:08 to 8:13, which is exactly 5 minutes.
I timed it. I could disagree with you, but that's how I timed it. My name is Bill Caruso. I live at 7 School Street. If you recall, I came to the last council meeting and I made a request that the council seriously consider proposing an ordinance for term limits. I know some of you may decide not to run again for some reason or other, or maybe you felt you've been there too long. And with all the confusion that's happening in the Township of Clark concerning the executive office over there, and you people are under a cloud also with some of the things that have occurred. Now, I'm not saying you're guilty or innocent. I'm not proposing that at all. All I'm saying is, for the good and welfare of this town, we should have term limits. No mayor should be in office 24 years. Now, I want to make this quite clear. For the first 8 years that he was in office, he did a good job. Did some nice things. Clark moved forward. It's a safe town and clean town. But after that, seems like everything went downhill. People were never asking any questions. Things were happening. I don't know how true some of the allegations are against him, but I was shocked to read that in the newspapers. I hope for his sake he could defend himself. But I'm asking you, for the good and welfare of this town, put in an ordinance limiting the council and the mayor to serve 2 terms. That's it. And then they go out of office. Our fathers that created America never intended that people have a career in politics. That's why we have so much trouble in Washington. We have guys that are 90 years old who don't even know who they are. Some of them are running for president. And it concerns everyone, all of us. We have to start thinking. This is probably going to be the most important election of your life. I don't know if you realize it. There are people who want to turn this country into a Russian-style government. But we all grew up knowing that isn't the way it is. I went to Korea to fight for our country and risked my life and was wounded. I did it because I believe in America. I believe in honesty. But I can't believe in today's day, you can't even ask a neighbor what party he belongs to. You can't sit at a table with a bunch of people and talk politics. People are so aggravated, they're at each other's throats. That's the Trump era. Hate. Hate. You can't talk. When I sat up there with some great Republicans, and we worked together, and we got things done. We never jumped at each other's throats. This is getting disgusting. I'm asking you people, do the right thing. We need term limits in Washington. We need term limits in this town. We need turnover. We need fresh young people. I hope the people out there that are listening and watching this program understand why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it to punish Republicans or Democrats. It's for the good and welfare of everybody. Get in, get out, do your good thing for the town, and leave. And people will be proud of you. Now, you could create history by doing this. And I know under the Fulton Act, I'm doing a lot of research on this, that you guys can do it. Now, who would have the moral courage to introduce such an ordinance? And I'm going to see if somebody would second it up there and see if we can get it done. And you can walk away with your head high, knowing you did the moral thing for the people of Clark. That's all. I'm not after anybody. I'm not doing this politically. If I was 40 years old, I might be doing it politically, but I'm way over my time. I did my service to the Township of Clark. I'm happy. I love the town. I'm not out to hurt anybody in Clark. Please, I want just to have a meeting and talk about this. We need this ordinance. We need to have term limits. We can't allow administrative people to be in there 24 years. That's what causes corruption. That's what happens. After a while, you think you could do anything. It's like a dictatorship. Guy will come up to say, do this for me. Okay, I'll take care of it. Don't worry. Nobody will ever
1
question.
minute remaining.
I think it's disgusting. Please, give that every consideration, okay? Thank you. Good night.
Good evening, Frank McCroche, 12 Kennedy Drive, Clark, New Jersey. Couple of things, right? So to Yale for TNR work, 20 tasks on Florence Drive. Wow. Wow. I never realized how much of an issue that was. So thank you. Greatly appreciate it. Also great to see fire department adding several members. It's a great thing, and hopefully we get more. And kudos to the town for applying for a grant from New Jersey for the bathrooms at Recreation Center. I went to a Union County Commissioner meeting several weeks ago. They had several items on the agenda regarding Township of Clark properties, and they were doing something very similar, seeking money from the state Green Acres grants to upgrade the parks. Specifically, Rahway River Park, that playground, Oak Ridge, they're doing some work around there in terms of demo, and also Warren Angel Park. So I'm glad to see that we're doing that, and if there's opportunities to support our playgrounds in some way, that's great. I think one question I had on pilots, and I think some of it's been addressed, the payments in lieu of taxes. Right, what wasn't clear was why the change now, and when I read the ordinance, it's specific to Walnut developers. There may be other pilot agreements, and will we do something similar? So for example, CubeSmart, which has no kids, I could probably argue very strongly that 95% of the money should go to the municipal budget, but the schools also need money. Walnut has children for certain. So it'd be interesting to see how this approach is going to one pilot agreement or all, or what's the thought process there going forward. Maybe I'm not very conversant in how things work, right? Changing the topic. There are about $10 million worth of emergency appropriations. Not quite sure I understand all that. It may just be paperwork, bookkeeping, but when you add it up, it costs us $3. It's about $10 million. Why are we doing that now? And does it really matter? Does the money come from anywhere other than the normal pathways? And how do we plan for those? Wrap up. DPW, great job. Snow plowing, done a wonderful job. In fact, when we had that Tuesday snowstorm, the first storm on Tuesday, they plowed Eaton Place, curb to curb, 3 times in the morning before they touch anything else, and I was scratching my head and saying, why? And then Davey Contractors, a subcontractor for PS, was helping to cut down some of the dead ash trees over power wires, and they worked through that snow, they kept it clean, they did everything. Great job. So great job in general, great job in working in those types of conditions with a contractor that benefits us, the township, and I observed them filling numerous potholes today. So thank you, DPW and everybody else, great jobs. Couple of questions.
Hi, Martha Kamichoff, 7 Riverside Drive, Clark. I have been watching the town committee meetings. I was very sick for 3 years, as most of you know. And lately, I'll be honest, I've been here 30 years. I'm disgusted with the way people talk to our town council and to our mayor. Our town council, I remember the days of the previous mayor, wasn't happy. I have seen nothing but good come out of our mayor and our council. And everything that most people know, I've been around with Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts for 30+ years in this town. I volunteer wholeheartedly anytime I can. Our councilmen and councilwomen volunteer their time. These are not careers for them sitting up here. They have their own careers. Everybody has their own career. Most of your time that you donate is for kids and sports and the library, and I know you do karate, and we have coaches sitting up here. I just can't believe, and I am extremely disgusted of the way people get up and talk to you. And I knew there was a meeting tonight, and for those of you who think and want to continue to say bad things about our mayor, 15 years ago, I remember getting a phone call at 5:30 in the morning from Quick Check telling me my daughter was in crisis and I needed to get there. And who did I find sitting on the floor, on the ground, in the cold? Nobody but Mayor Sal Bonacorso. I don't think people were walking by them, and he sat there with her, and he calmed her down, and she ended up out of crisis. And I mean, to this day, I'm grateful. I am grateful. I mean, she could have ended up, cutting herself, or, anything could have happened. But I think you're all doing a wonderful job. And excuse me, but the hell with term limits. You guys stay there as long as you want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Mary Semler, 56 Conger Way. Good evening. I have a couple of questions, but the first question I have is about pilot. I was at the workshop meeting, and the mayor did explain some about the pilot program and how we collect the funds going to the municipality. 5%, I believe, goes to the county, and we are sharing some percentage with the school. So not knowing too much about it, but having heard it mentioned here several times, I'd like to know if somebody can just explain to me, how is it decided that when there is a development in the town, that that development is going to fall under the pilot program, as opposed to a program where it's going to be regular ratables and assessed for taxes? So can somebody here explain that to us? Okay. Okay, well, thank you. Okay, so the other thing, I just wanted to go on the record. I hope that we're trying to be transparent here. I know everyone here has their feelings about what the mayor has done and what the council has done. And, over the past couple of years, there has certainly been some very negative, disturbing, and upsetting and embarrassing things that have gone on within our town. It's our town. It's not my town or your town. It's all of us. So I think, we need to know this is an election year. And for myself, and I think the rest of the residents, I've not heard a lot before the AG's investigation came out. There really was no one wanted to really speak about the investigation, the allegations, and things like that. Since that time, now our town is under a civil rights investigation. So we have official misconduct, and now we have a civil rights investigation, as I understand it, that's having to do with the police department. So my question is, here tonight, it's an election year. Some of you are up for re-election. I know the mayor is up for re-election. Have any of you, publicly or privately, and I'll go down the line here, ask that the mayor step down from his position so that we can move forward as a town and try to gain some of our integrity back that we seem to have had here at one time, but really seem to be suffering at a loss for that. So, Councilman Toll, have you asked? Okay, so has any... Okay, so has anybody here asked publicly or privately to the mayor that he step down from his position? No, that's really all I wanted to make. I just thought it would be good for the residents of our town to know where you stand. Okay, so we know where you stand. Thank you.
Permit anyone to make their comments, and then we have an opportunity to respond in full. As far as the comment in question regarding pilot, for example, this evening, we discussed this new redevelopment agreement. And as the clerk had stated, what the process is that this then goes to the planning board. And the state has a list of about 10 key items they look at to determine if the area where they want to do this redevelopment and have a pilot, it will be considered an area in need of redevelopment. The BA explained the condition of those properties. It's an eyesore, blemish on the town. We'd like to get it redevelopment. The redevelopment process gives the developer an opportunity to invest because they're going to not pay the standard tax rate. They're going to get lower taxes. They're going to make a payment to the town in lieu of tax. So they're not going to get the regular tax rate that a commercial entity or private entity would have. Well, it wouldn't be private, it would be commercial. So we're going to wait. The planning board makes their decision. Once they make their decision and they let the administration know it's an area in need of redevelopment, then we'll pursue the redevelopment, and then the township can put in place a pilot agreement. It doesn't affect the developer at all whether the township gives the money to the schools. The township is taking their money and saying, here's your share, what you would have gotten. So hopefully that answered that question. I don't know if the mayor or our BA want to make a comment on pilot. That's good? Okay. The emergency appropriation that Frank asked about. So when you start the year in government, you have to start with a temporary budget. Unlike private industry and also the fire department, for example, they have to submit their budget by November 1st for the calendar year. But townships do not. They must go on a temporary budget. And the state says you get 26.25% of your last year budget when you start the year. So on the first reorganization meeting of the year, the township gets 26.25% to spend. At this time, we're not introducing the temporary, we can't pass or introduce our regular budget. So we need a temporary emergency budget to sustain us until our budget process is finished and we move ahead. There are certain expenses that are paid earlier in the year. In April, the township has to pay its full pension liability, which is a very large amount. It's not spread throughout the year. So that's one of the big payments that's coming up. They have other big expenses that come early in the year, such as liability insurance. The insurance companies don't wait. You don't pay over 12 months, okay? So hopefully that explains why we have an emergency appropriation. Minded to close the public portion of the meeting before I respond to these questions. Do I have a motion to close the public portion?
Move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Well, at this point, I have some other comments, but I'll wait until it's my turn to speak. We'll go on to mayor, council, and professional comments.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to thank Martha very much for your comments tonight, Martha. Very nice of you, and you've been a great volunteer to our community. the givers always give and the takers always got something to say. And we do appreciate it. The people out there know the work that we collaboratively done, meeting the citizens, for a lot of the programs. There's a lot of people, not a lot, there's a couple of people, I should say, if you really watch it, a couple, 2, 3, that have a lot to say, that have absolutely no stitch in the fiber of this community whatsoever, but they want to run the town. They want to run the town. But whether, to answer the lady from Conger Way, whether I seek re-election or I don't, I will promise this community one thing: anything in my power to keep Republicans elected on this dais and keep this town running the right way, I would do, whether I'm here or out there, because we certainly don't need some of the stuff that I saw up here. Name calling, babies, can't get over things. It is the way it is. What I do will be decided on March 25th when our petitions. You'll probably have a petition in, ma'am, if I'm thinking right. You might have a petition in, and we'll see where it goes from there. Mr. Caruso came up in a very nice conversation tonight for a change and mentioned about term limits. And I know people get to change their mind. We all do, right? Sometimes people change their mind from day to day. But I can quote you in October of 2020 when he stood right here at this microphone and said, "I'm urging this town to re-elect this mayor and this council." It's in the public record. Don't believe me, go read it. But he might have changed his mind between now and then. That's okay. He's allowed to do that. But Martha, I know there's a lot of great people like you out there who do a lot for this town each and every day, which gives us the energy to come here, take some abuse along the line. It's not much, because for every one of them, I guarantee you, I could put 25 behind them that says differently. Guarantee you. Guarantee you. And November will definitely show that. So thank you very much. That concludes my report for this month, and have a safe rest of the month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Hund.
Sure, thank you, excuse me, Madam President. To the one comment of whether, each one of us spoke with the mayor or not. Mr. Mayor and I had lengthy conversations regarding the situation at hand, and I did not ask for him to step down, but we discussed it, but I did not ask him to do that. So to answer your question for myself, I can't, we all speak for our own selves and what we've done. So that's where I stand on that. I want to congratulate the new fire department members. There's 2 there, and also the emergency squad members, 4 people there. It's very necessary to have those individuals volunteer their time. As you can hear from my report and from Councilman O'Connor's report, we have a lot of things going on in this town when it comes to emergencies. I have over 2,000 police calls on average, well over 2,000 police calls on average for the police department that they respond to. So adding new people to that is fantastic, and I just want to congratulate those 2 there, and also thank the police department for the continued due diligence with radar traps and policing the entire town. Their nightly ride-arounds with their lights on. I'm assuming the results are still the same. I see them every night on my block, whether it's once, twice, and sometimes 3 times on the weekends. So I'm hoping everyone else sees them as much as I do. I don't get preferential treatment. I'm just saying I see them a lot on my street. So thank you to the entire police department. Stay safe and keep our town safe as well. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hund. Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of comments. First off, I have known our mayor for many, many years. I have not asked him to step down, and I will not ask him to step down. That is his own discretion to do, if he cares to do this. We are up here running the township business, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of that, and we'll continue to keep you in mind and all our residents in mind when we deliberate and make any decision that will affect our residents' pocketbook and their quality of life. With that, I want to move on to a couple of other comments, if I may. As some of you know, I am Clark's representative to the Roy Valley Sewerage Authority and commissioner for the Sewerage Authority. We are looking for an engineer. We've been out on the street, we're trying to acquire that individual, and it's very, very hard in today's world. It's a rather intensive position. That individual would support our executive director and our whole inner process and our projects and initiatives that the Sewerage Authority is doing and overseeing all of our consultants. So we're looking for an engineer. If anyone is interested, please go on our website, www.roaryvalleysewageauthority.com. Look at the requirements that we would need for that individual. And if somebody is inclined to want to put an application in, please, absolutely do. It's a rather good position for the Sewerage Authority, and we are, all of the commissioners, we are a major Sewerage Authority, regional Sewerage Authority in New Jersey. We encompass 11 communities. So it's a rather large Sewerage Authority. So if you know of anyone that may be interested, please, don't hesitate to go online, see what the requirements are, put in an application, give me a call, and I'll tell you how to proceed. So hopefully we'll find somebody. And as I said, we're looking for somebody that is willing to work and support our executive director and our whole entire process at the Sewerage Authority. Finally, please, ladies and gentlemen, lock your doors at all times, as I've said every month, in your vehicles and your residence. We don't want to have any break-ins, so keep your doors locked at all times. And if you see something or if you hear something, don't hesitate to call our police department. They're not going to get annoyed at you. They're going to respond as quickly as possible, and they do. Each and every call that goes to the police department, they respond quickly to ensure your safety and well-being. So please, don't hesitate to call them. And until next month, be well, safe, and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mazzarella. Councilman O'Connor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, I have a question. I got some calls from residents around the reservoir that had asked about the flags. They've seen some flags out. Do you have any insight?
Yes, engineering purposes for the dredging of the reservoir, and I'm going to also say probably to get some engineering for the recreation, to know where the boundaries and guidelines are for the recreation aspect that can and should be happening up there along with the dredging that's going on.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'd also like to congratulate the 2 new members of the Clark Volunteer Fire Department. And as you know from my past discussions, volunteerism is huge in this town. My dad volunteered on the fire department. I volunteered with coaching. A lot of people up here, I know Mayor Sal has, I know Hun and Councilman Smith have been involved very heavily in youth sports. It takes a lot of time. It's not easy, but it's very rewarding. And what I'm happy to see is a lot of Clark residents who grew up in this town, like myself, and like the mayor, who have been benefited from in-town coaches, have gone on to be coaches. And that's happening again with the younger generation. They're coming up again and they're giving back to the community. So, our forefathers definitely set a good standard for us. So thank you to the volunteers. With regard to the question that was asked before, I don't recall the mayor being convicted of anything. So I don't understand where the question comes from. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Council President. This past weekend, the Clark Travel Basketball Tournament began with 191 teams from all over the state, from as far south as Point Pleasant Borough, and teams came from as far north as Sparta. We played about 133 games over this past weekend, and we'll have about 150 games starting Thursday night through Sunday. And when we do the calculation, that's about 10,000, 15,000 people per weekend that come through our building, come through our town. I know I was at Manny's, I was at Tarantella's, and I was at Bistro over the weekend, and they all saw additional business than they usually did. So it does bring a lot of, I guess, economic, financial impact to the town. So I want to thank the administration. I'm a board member of the Clark Travel Basketball, so I want to thank the administration, the rec department for allowing us to use the facility for the 3-weekend tournament. It's a great tournament for our children in Clark, and it's a fun event, and it's a lot of lifelong memories that the kids get to see and be a part of. So again, I just want to thank the administration on that, and that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. Councilman Toll.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to start off with a sort of response, because that question was coming to me from the resident in the audience. When that issue broke, first thing I talked to was to my attorney. And the second was, I did speak to the mayor after our executive meeting, and I said to him, you're going on TV 36 and explaining to the citizens of Clark what happened. The very next day, the mayor was on explaining to the citizens of what happened. Since all that time and tonight, I'm still under direction from my attorney to speak about that matter. It was not a personal opinion, off the record. I wasn't happy about any of it. I was very saddened. This community deserves nothing but the best. And I'm not going to give opinions of pro or con, but this community deserves the very best. And that's all I can say on the issue, because we're still under legal. It's ridiculous what happens. Sad. Now, I'm going to piggyback the two comments and the two questions. I support term limits. That's me. But you know something? Term limits are done not by a politician or a piece of paper. It's done by, on November the 5th, 2024. That's when the residents will go to the ballot and they place their vote and what direction they want this community to go to. It's called an election process. The democratic process will be heard in this town as it's been done for all the years since 1864, when this town, nobody in this room can say, who was the first mayor elected to Clark? Who was the first mayor of Clark? Robert A. Russell. Wow, I can give you an old historical note. The point is, democracy was started then and will continue beyond our terms. That's why I've got some people who lived in the past and who just left us. People from our own community we know. Okay. Richard Harvey Van Heis, a 40-year resident of Clark, retired Army National Guardsman, a 27-year veteran and retired Union Township Police Department. A Union police officer lived in Clark all these years. Our deepest condolences to his wife, Andrea, daughter, Kim, and her family. Dolores Esposito Hoon. Dolores was the farmer's daughter, beloved daughter of Clark's own Pete Esposito. Dee grew up on the Esposito family farm on Masson Hill Road, now Esposito Park. You spent your entire life in Clark as a farmer's daughter, working every day, helping Dad out on his crops to just make a living. Dee just passed away. There was her and her sister Frances, who was known as Dee Dee and Fifi. That was their nicknames in town. If you knew them, sweet people, worked hard every day and gave back to the community. Sal Bellani, 25-year resident of Clark. Sal was always be remembered as the election day guy. The Republican worker, the Democrats had Pat Brandt and then Sal Bellani. They went to the polls, got the election results and brought them back to the clerk's office. Edie, I know, could talk hours about these two wonderful people who gave back to the democratic process, not for themselves. If they got a stipend, that'd be fine. But they worked hard all those years giving back to the community for the election process. It wasn't political. It was just out of a labor of love for two wonderful people. And I honored Pat Brandt when she passed a few months back because I grew up with the family. These are people who cared. Let's continue. Anne Marie Tarrenton, a longtime resident of Clark, a member of St. Agnes Church and the Grand Centurions. To her 5 sons, John, Thomas, Richard, James, and Daniel, our deepest condolences on the loss of your mom. Madeline Urbanovich, loving mother of Charlotte and Joe Urbanovich, Clark PD, Clark Public Works, retired. Linda Daly, longtime Clark resident, a member of the Clark American Legion Post 328 and Clark Deutscher Club. To her family, Brian Daly, children Ray and Christina Daly, our deepest condolences. Wallace Dodornia, a lifetime Clarkite, a friend to all. To his father, Oswald Dodornia, a friend of mine. Brothers Sam and Joe, our deepest sympathies for your loss. Christopher Canada. Chris Canada was a young man. He served as the prosecutor for the Township of Clark from 2001 to 2009. He grew up in town. When I was a kid growing up in Clark, Chris Canada was the kid who found the tombstone in his backyard. He lived on Armstrong Drive. They were playing in the backyard, him and his brother, and they came across an old tombstone from the colonial period. It was a DeCamp family. Back then, they buried the family members on the farm. Things go through, and then the developers came in, they just covered over the stone. But it was in the local newspapers, and Chris became a media star from that. We used to tease him at school about it. Again, Chris served his community, gave his time and his efforts to make sure the legal process was carried out. We will miss Chris at a very young age, and our condolences to his beloved wife, Deborah, sons Alex and Robert. Chris shall be missed. He was a good man. I'm not going to go in labor on 2 questions, but this town is better than what we are. And we have to work hard. If you don't believe in politics or you don't believe in Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter. Clark comes first, always. If you want to question me, I'll only gladly what I can do, because when you're working in government, government has so many legal tentacles that just pulls you. You got to be careful what you say, or you're going to end up in court, and it stinks. With that said, wishing everyone a healthy and happy end of February. It's a leap year. We'll see you next month. And God bless the cat ladies. And Frank, I love when you come up and you ask questions. You have every right to do that. And I appreciate it, because Frank and I have been trying to work on documenting the traffic flow along Skyline, Kennedy, Mildred Terrace. We're trying to make a better Clark. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Toll. So to address some of the points that came up this evening, as far as the civil rights investigation, I guess that was indicated by the Attorney General's office, but I'm not aware of any actions taken. So I guess you can contact them if you want. They have the answer. We do not. We're not aware of one. I did not ask the mayor to step down. I support the mayor. I've known him for 30 years, so that's where I stand on that. I do not support term limits, and I would not support an ordinance for term limits. From the time I was 18, I believe people have voting rights. Worked at the polls all up through my college years till I got a job in a full-time profession. People should come out and vote. It's a shame that in this country we're so used to freedom, we take it for granted. Well, if you want a voice, if you want to come out and run, go ahead. That's what you need to do. Bill Caruso was on council. He knows how many years, and had other duties in government. I never heard him support term limits. And as the mayor pointed out just recently, a few years ago, come up and praised the council and the mayor and supported us. As far as all the coaches up here, Councilman O'Connor just gave me he's like, oh, I forgot to mention. Yes, you've been doing karate in the town for 24 years. Since 2010, past 14 years, I've been teaching karate. I'm a second-degree black belt. Not to pat myself on the back, but we would welcome citizens to come and join our martial arts school. It's an international school, has 7 different martial arts influences, and it's probably the oldest sport that's been involved in the recreation department. We've been there since 1986, which happens to be the year I moved here. I wish I knew about it then. On a positive note, I want to say congratulations and welcome again to our 2 new fire volunteers. That is what makes the town great. And thank you, Martha, for all your comments this evening. I know you've volunteered over the years. See you at the library all the time. Volunteer, with the Scouts over the years, and just been a very outspoken supporter of the town. I think that covers it all for me, so I'm going to move on to our business administrator.
Okay, we've been talking a lot about automation and things. I just want to give the residents and the council some numbers. To date, we have online, that is, about 1,800 dog licenses, a little over 200 cat licenses, 290 restaurant inspections, report of concern 270, garage sales 290, and bulky pickup a little over 400 requests. These are the things that you used to have to call or stop in for. You know, I know a lot of people who've done their dog license, cat licenses know that whole process. So we're moving the town forward so we can, become more efficient and, make it easier. You don't have to get there on a certain day to, process a transaction. Just to add to Council President's comments, just so people know, I mean, approximately 6 million of that 9 million comes out of, a couple of lines, right? So health benefits, $1 million, police, $1.6 million, roads, 335, recycling, 200,000, the municipal library, 200,000, pensions, around 2.6 million between the two of them, Social Security, $200,000. So it's not like we are spending money on things that we don't need. These are critical aspects. Another question that has come to me is where's the money for the rent coming from for the first month's rent? I did explain this originally. I'm just bringing it up again. These are fees that are paid when people do construction to the house. So it's not coming out of the township budget. It is actually coming out of the construction fees. So there's a fee that's associated with this, and then we're using that to pay the first month's rent. The questions on pilots. So, there's as the mayor said, there is going to be no pilot that's going to lose money throughout this process, right? The school's not going to lose money. So whatever they're paying, they're paying. So we don't know what the only live pilot we have right now is Walnut Avenue. I mean, there's a pilot agreement, but as everybody knows, pilot in lieu of taxes is based on revenue. And until there's revenue, there's no calculation. We do an upfront calculation based on their estimates for year one, but then we true that up at year two. So we will get, some money. Also the pilots help us with, affordable housing. I mean, we have a requirement if, some of these residents had to have, affordable housing, it will make some of those properties economically disadvantaged and probably would not be able to build it. So, it's a win-win. We keep more of the money. We also have our affordable housing, or we start, closing some of the gap in our affordable housing. And, throughout this process, the contractor, the developer, actually build something that they wouldn't have built if it wasn't based on revenue. And just on the civil rights investigation, we have not been contacted. Our attorneys have not been contacted. I don't know what the story is, but if we can't respond to something, we can't respond to something. I think that's it.
Hey, Joe, can I add one more thing? The project over on Walnut Avenue, if that was a regular taxable property, okay, the township would really be the ones who are losing. Right now, we have gained an enormous revenue source from that property, and our school has gotten the same money that they got prior to this development. As I explained at the executive session, this has been going on since 1996 when I first got involved in government. We collect the taxes for the county and school board, and of course for Clark. When there is a tax appeal, all the money comes out of the municipal budget. This is Clark's opportunity to win. Quite frankly, I welcome pilots because it'll give us a chance to recoup some of our money, and it's our professional thought process. That's why it's so important who you elect. So important. Our professional thought process between myself, the administrator, and this council is to not hurt our school district, because that would be robbing Peter to pay Paul. We need our school district. They're very sound on the Board of Education, fiscally sound people. They really are. Their increases are minimal, like our increases are minimal. There's years we didn't have any increases. Very hard to do. It's very hard to do in this state. But at the end of the day, we keep the school whole and the township wins, because we paid millions and millions of dollars off on tax appeals in my 28 years in government that I've seen come through our door. Millions and millions of dollars. So this is a way that Clark's going to win. By the way, if anybody's counting, that development on Walnut Avenue is completely rented, and people say wonderful things about it. It looks nice from the street. I have not been in one personally, but people that are there tell me they're very beautiful units. So as much as I'm against the high-density development, and I truly am, and always will be, and have been, at least if we're going to have to swallow it, I'd like to see a unit like that that's built on Walnut. I think it looks pretty good from the street. It's bringing good revenue into Clark, and the people that are there seem very happy. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. And it reminds me that some of these projects take many years, span far beyond 2 terms of office. When you look at what's gone on here, look at the whole shopping center that's here in town, with Whole Foods and all the other businesses that are there. That's not like the typical strip mall you see in other towns. I'm very proud of what this town has done with that and how things were determined and settled. That's a wonderful, beautiful shopping center. And I hope it's doing well. I know that I spend quite a bit of money over there, so. But I want to get back to one final comment before I go on to the clerk. I forgot to mention, thank you so much, Gail, and the other young lady here who came out regarding what you're doing with the cats. And just to remind the citizens, if you're into Zumba, March 5th, go to Lake Hiawatha, 25 Crescent Drive. I know that I contacted the Township because I had a complaint on Fulton Street, and maybe I'll catch up with you afterwards on that, what's happening with that, before I call the health officer again. Madam Clerk?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I just would like to recognize and thank Bobby Dante behind the camera tonight. It's his first time on his own. Our main cameraman was unable to make it tonight, and Bobby stepped up, and I think he did an excellent job. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Yes, good job, Bobby. Especially the cat pictures. I don't know how you all coordinated that, but you had your own little slideshow during your presentation. At this time, I'd ask to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, Councilman Toll. Thank you, Councilman Hund. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.